Once near a great forest lived a poor woodcutter with his wife and his two children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had little to eat, and once when great famine fell on the land, he could no longer even get daily bread.
Now, when he thought about this at night in his bed and tossed about in his anxiety, he groaned and said to his wife,
What is to become of us? He ought to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything even for ourselves. Early tomorrow morning, we will take the children out into the forest to where it is the thickest. We will light a fire for them and give each of them one more piece of bread. And then we will go to our work and leave them alone. They will not find the way home again, and we shall be rid of them. I will not do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone in the forest? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces. Oh, you fool! Then we must all for die of hunger. You may as well plan the plank for our coffins.
and she left him no peace until he agreed to the plan.
But I feel very sorry for the poor children, all the same,
said the woodcutter in a sorrowful voice. The two children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard that what their stepmother had said to their father.
Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, "Be quiet, Gretel.
Said Hansel, trying to comfort his little sister.
Do not distract yourself. I will soon find a way to help us."
And when the old folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his little coat, opened the door below, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white peppers which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stooped and stuffed the little pocket of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel,
When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said,
get up, you sluggards. We are going into the forest to fetch wood.
She gave each a little piece of bread and said,
There is something for your dinner, but do not eat it up before then, for you will get nothing else.
His father said,
Hansel, what are you going looking at there as sitting?
Father, I'm looking at my little white cat, which is sitting up on the roof and wants to say goodbye to me."
Fool, that's not your little cat. That's it, the morning sun which is shining on the chimneys. Hansel, however, had not been looking back at the cat, but had been constantly through one of white papers torn out of his pocket on the road.
When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said,
Now, children, buy up some wood, and I will get lights of fire that you may not be cold.
Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, each ate a little piece of bread. And as they heard the strokes of the wood axe, they believed that their father was near. It was not the axe, however, but a branch which he had fastened to a withered tree which the wind was blowing backwards and forwards. And as they had been sitting such a long time, their eyes closed with fatigue, and they fell fast asleep. When at last they awoke, it was already dark night.
Gretel began to cry and say, "How are we to get out of the forest now?"
but Hansel comforted her and said, just wait a little until the moon has risen, and then we will soon find the way. Just wait, Gretel, until the moon rises, and we shall see the crumb of bread which I have seen about. They will show us our way home again.
And when the full moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand, and followed the pebbles which saw like newly coined silver pieces, and showed them the way. They walked the whole night long, and by break of day came once more to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and when the woman opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel, she said,
You naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you was never coming back as on.
Father, however, rejoiced, for it had cut him into the heart to leave them behind alone.
Not long afterwards, there was once more great dearth throughout the land, and the children heard their mother saying at night to their father,
Everything is eaten again. We have one half log left, and that's it the end. The children must grow. We will take them for further into the wood, so that they will not find their way out again. There is no other means of saving ourselves.
The man's heart was heavy, and he thought,
It would be better for me to share the last mouthful with my children.
The woman, however, would listen to nothing that he had to say, but scolded and reproached him. He who says must say be likewise, and as he had yielded the first time, he had to do a second time also.
Children, however, was still awake and had heard the conversation. When the old folks were asleep, Hansel again got up and wanted to go out and pick up pebbles as he had done before. But the woman had locked the door, and Hansel could not get out. Nevertheless, he comforted his little sister and said,
do not cry, Gretel. Go to sleep quietly. The God will help us.
Early in the morning came the woman, and took the children out of their beds. The piece of bread was given to them, but it was still smaller than the time before. On their way into the forest, Hansel crumbled his in his pocket, and often stood still and drew a morsel on the ground.
Hansel, why do you stop and look around? We must keep moving.
I'm looking back at my little vision, which is sitting on the roof and want to say goodbye to me.
Fool, that's not your little pigeon. That's emotion that is shining on the chimney. Hansel, however, little by little, to the crumbs on the path.
The woman led the children still deeper into the forest, where they had never in their life been before. Then a great fire was again made, and the mother said,
Their stepmother, however, had died. The little ant tied her feet floor until pearls and precious stones ran about the room, and Hansel threw one handful after another out of his pocket to add to them. Then on anxiety was set an end, and they lived together in perfect happiness.
Just sit there, you children, and when we are tired, you might sleep a little. We are going into the forest to cut wood, and in the evening, when we are done, we will come and fetch you away.
When it was noon, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel, who had scattered it piece by the way. Then they fell asleep and evening passed. But no one came to the poor children. They did not awake until it was dark night, and Hansel comforted his little sister and said,
just wait, Gretel, until the moon rise, and we shall see the crumb of bread which I have seen about. They will show us our way home again.
When the moon came, they set out, but they found no crumbs, for the many thousands of birds which fly about in the woods and fields had picked them all up. Hansel said to Gretel,
We shall soon find a way.
But they did not find it. They walked the whole night and all the next day too, from morning till evening, but they did not get out of the forest, and were very hungry, for they had nothing to eat but 2 or 3 berries, which grew on the ground, and as they were so weary that their legs would carry them no longer, they lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep.
It was now 3 mornings since they had left their father's house. They began to walk again, but they always came deeper into the forest, and if help did not come soon, they must die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow white bird sitting on a porch, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it.
and when its songs were over, it spread its wings and flew away before them, and they followed it until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. And when they approached the little house, They thought that it was built of bread and covered with cakes, but that the windows were of clear sugar.
and went on eating without disturbing themselves. Hansel, who liked the taste of the root, tore out a great piece of it, and Gretel pushed out the whole of the raw window bed, sat down, and enjoyed herself with it. Suddenly the door opened, and a woman as old as the hills, who supported herself on crutches, came creeping out. Hansel and Gretel were so terribly frightened that they let fall what they had in their hands.
The old woman, however, nodded her head and said,
Oh, you dear children, who has brought you here? You come in and stay with me. No harm shall happen to you.
She took them both by the hand and led them into her little house. Then good food was set before them, milk and pancakes, with sugar, apples, and nuts. Afterwards, two pretty little beds were covered with clean white linen, and Hansel and Gretel lay down in them, and thought they were in heaven.
The old woman had only pretended to be so kind. She was in reality a wicked witch who lay in wait for children, and had only built the little house of bread in order to entice them there. When a child fell into her power, she killed it, cooked and ate it, and that was a feast day with her. Witches have red eyes and cannot see far, but they have a keen scent like the beast, and are aware when human beings draw near. Gretel began to weep bitterly, but it was all in vain, for she was forced to do what the wicked witch commanded, and now the best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel had got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the woman crept into little stable and cried, Hansel, stretch out your finger, that I may feel if you will soon be fat.
Stir yourself and bring some water. Let Hansel be fast, O lynx. Tomorrow I will kill him and cook him.
Ah, how the poor little sister did lament when she had to fetch the water, and how her tears did flow down her cheeks.
Oh, what will we do? If the wild beasts in the forest had but devoured us, we should at any rate have died together.
Just keep your nose to yourself.
Said the woman.
It won't help you at all. We will bake first
said the old woman.
and see if it properly heated, so that we can put the bread in.
I do not know how I am to do it. How do I get in?
The door is big enough. Just look. I can get in myself.
And she crept up and thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a brush that drove her far into it, and shut the iron door and fastened the bolt. Oh, then she began to howl quite horribly, but Gretel ran away, and the wicked witch was miserably burned to death.
2. We'll take something home with me, said Hansel. After walking for 2 hours, they came to a great stretch of water. Little duck, dost thou see? Hansel and Gretel are waiting for thee. There's never a plank or bridge in sight. Take us across on thy back so white.
The duck came to them, and Hansel seated himself on its back, and told his sister to sit by him.
No, that will be too heavy for the little duck. She shall take us across, one after the other.
Their stepmother, however, had died. The little ant tied her pinafore until pearls and precious stones ran about the room, and Hansel threw one handful after another out of his pocket to add to them. Then on anxiety was set an end, and they lived together in perfect happiness